So one of the main challenges that we discovered when we surveyed the way budget data is published today is that there is great heterogeneity of the data. For example, you have two cities in one country, and each of the cities publishes budget data in a different way, different format, different schema.
I think the major challenge is actually the diversity of data formats, of code lists, how it's called. Code lists are annotating basically the spending and the budget data sets. And in Spain, every region has its own set of code lists, and every European country, many cities develop their own code list, and that makes it basically incomparable. And then the spending and the budget data is not so useful anymore, because you need to invest a huge amount of work in order to discover anything interesting there.
Budgets are public. They have always been public, whether they are readable, whether they are understandable, whether they are comparable, whether you can actually, as a citizen or as even an informed journalist, be able, looking at that data, to answer the question that you would like to answer is something else.
We really want to increase our transparency, not because it wasn't transparent before, but now the technology can help to design the tools which help the citizen to understand the data that a local government is able to produce.
Another challenge that's linked to that one is a lack of documentation. So budget data is published, but it's not explained, it is not documented, so the users of the data don't know how to interpret the data correctly.
The great thing with OpenBudget.eu is that it's not only about putting data online, and this has already been done. What we do at OpenBudget.eu is that there is a technical component, but also stakeholders component, which is extremely important. I mean, much more important than in previous projects that were dealing with the same issues.
No, stakeholders play a key role. The whole project is driven basically by the need of stakeholders. First, of course, by citizens who want to be more informed or want to trace their governments, and of course journalists play another important role because they create stories, maybe can evaluate the data. Of course, we also want to simplify it for public administrations to publish this data, because I think public administrations, cities, municipalities understand that this is important to increase transparency and to provide this data to their citizens and journalists in the region. So from that perspective, we are very much oriented at the needs of the stakeholders.
Mm-hmm. The work related to open data is one that doesn't really have borders. So in that sense, I think there's many things that can be transferred, including practices, knowledge, different tools, and networks.
I think that these kind of projects are pretty useful, because maybe you are doing something that is really interesting and there's another people in another part of Europe that is doing the same. So in this aspect, I think that it's important, this kind of meetings and events and projects, and that's because you can check what are the methodologies that other people like you are doing, and you, most important of all, you can take new ideas and readapt the new ideas to your own situation.
So one of the goals of Open Budgets is to provide means and guidance on how to publish budget data correctly, so that it is interoperable, comparable, and that users can actually understand what the data means.
I think a project like Open Budget, which puts together many different stakeholders, is a project where people will learn what is interesting and what is not, will learn what people can do with the data and what they cannot do. And this all has to do with that process of making data more meaningful. Data is not meaningful by itself. You have to give it a meaning, and this kind of debate helps give it a meaning to it.
My expectation from OpenBudgets.eu is to provide us, civil society, but also governments, with three very, very important tools. First of all, a standard. I think that this is the most important one. The second would be comparative data across Europe. And the third, a very important advocacy tool for civil society asking for more openness, because we're never happy with what we have.
Here, I really think projects like OpenBudgets.eu can do really good work in order to put the pressure on governments, so the governments will publish more information, more data on their public spendings.
I think Open Budgets aims at realizing an unprecedented level of financial transparency on all levels of public administration, from the municipal, regional level up to the supranational European level. That's what we want to do.
That you are gearing to have many people from different outfits, from different roles in society, to try to debate over what kind of information would be actually useful. And I think this is already a value in itself to be able to contribute to this debate.
The work that is going to be done within the Open Budgets project, I think, is going to be especially valuable, and we hope that we can cooperate on that in terms of establishing the standards, the good practices, which can and should lead to improvement of public services, more targeted allocation of resources again.